I asked former British Prime Minister David Cameron whether the shrinking Commonwealth can outlast this change, and also about an embarrassing moment that the PM had at Balmoral. Watch. One of the questions that I have is about the Commonwealth, and we already here's Jacinda Ardern from New Zealand talking about the future. Let's watch.
I do believe that is where New Zealand will head in time. I believe it's likely to occur in my lifetime, but I don't see it as a short-term measure or anything that is on the agenda anytime soon.
So we also have Antigua and Barbuda saying that they are also going to consider leaving the Commonwealth.
Well, they're not leaving the Commonwealth. This is
becoming republics.
A different point. The Commonwealth is an organisation that came out of the end of the British Empire that includes over 50 countries, over a fifth of the world's population, includes India and Pakistan and countries across Africa and across the Pacific. It's an extraordinary organisation. Now, if countries choose to become republics, they can still be members of the Commonwealth. Indeed, there are countries joining the Commonwealth that never had anything to do with the British Empire. Rwanda, for instance, has joined and is a very happy member of the Commonwealth. So the Commonwealth is a huge success story, and the Queen, late Queen, should take huge credit for that. Whether countries that have the Queen as their head of state choose to continue, that is a matter for them. Obviously, as a monarchist and a royalist and a fan of the royal family, I hope they do. And I think it has helped to bring stability and unity to lots of countries, but it's a matter for them. We're all now democracies.
What's the benefit to a country to stay, pardon me for interrupting you, what's the benefit of a country to stay with the head of state as King Charles III now?
I think the benefit is that it means your head of state is a non-political figure. So you have elections, you decide who runs the country, what the makeup of Parliament is. And of course, if Parliament, even in this country, if Parliament decided it didn't want to be a monarchy anymore, then it wouldn't be. Parliament is sovereign. And that's the same for all the countries where the Queen is head of state. But I think having a monarch as head of state does bring a certain degree of stability. I mean, as one of my former colleagues put it today, we've had a new Prime Minister, we've got a new King on the throne, there are people on the streets all over our country, but they're not protesting about the state of the government or the state of, or what system we're under. They're there to mourn the outgoing sovereign and to welcome the new one. And that's an amazing transition and shows, I think, the stability and constancy of our constitutional monarchy.
There was an editorial this morning called The End of History, and just raising questions about the United Kingdom, about the United States, about the power shift that we see with China rising in some ways, not in others, with Russia in aggressive mode in Europe. Is this great tradition, is part of the reason everyone's so emotional about this, because they're concerned about the future of the global dynamic in the world, the power dynamic?
Well, we certainly face difficulties. Putin's totally unjustified invasion of Ukraine has shot gas prices up, and that's affecting families right across Europe and indeed in America. But actually, I would take a different view and say it's also been a reminder of the importance of NATO. When we see new countries, Sweden and Finland, join NATO, I think we're seeing the Britain and American relationship strengthen, if anything, because of this new threat from Russia. And because of what's happening with China, you've seen AUKUS, the new pact between Australia and the United States and Britain. Again, another sign of, obviously, your strength, but also our relevance as an important partner. So, yes, we face a difficult world. Yes, I think the monarchy is a rock of stability in that difficult world, but don't underestimate the power of the democracies, the strength of the democracies when they work together.
So on a light note, before I let you go, I was laughing the other day. I was watching all the prime ministers in the front row at the session, telling, some of them telling really funny stories. Theresa May talked about cheese falling off her plate and the Queen kind of looking at her like, what are you going to do? Are you going to pick it up or are you going to eat it? And you had a difficult time finding your way around at Balmoral, apparently. Got lost
when you
in the woods.
I was very lucky because Prime Minister for 6 years, so I think I went to Balmoral 6 times. And each time would you like to go fishing? Would you like to ride one of the Queen's horses? And so one year I rode one of the Queen's Highland ponies. I walked like John Wayne for about a week because his back was so broad. Once my wife and I decided to go for a walk. And the great thing is there, you don't need any police protection. So you wander off into the into the wilderness. And after about an hour, we realised we were completely lost. But luckily, Prince Philip turned up in a Land Rover, wound down the window, and said, "Prime Minister, you're completely lost, aren't you?" And I had to say, "Well, yes, I had the map, but it had gone wrong." So it was an amazing thing to experience the royal family sort of at play, as it were. I mean, it's a castle, so it's odd to say that it's relaxed, but it was strangely relaxed. And the Queen, some nights, used to get into her Range Rover, and you got in the front seat, and she drove up the hill pretty fast. And you went and had a barbecue, one of the little bothies, one of the cottages up in the hills, and there was Prince Philip doing the barbecue, and the Queen and him would serve you your dinner, which was something I'm never going to forget.
Yeah, I was going to say that's got to be a remarkable memory that you must be very grateful for those memories.
She was an extraordinary woman because obviously this great experience, travelled to over 100 countries, knew so much about so many issues, but also was incredibly down to earth, a real lover of the countryside and nature, brilliant with people, great sense of humour, twinkle in the eye to put people at rest. And, I will all miss her so much. And I think realise just what we had and just what we've lost in the coming weeks.
Prime Minister David Cameron, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Great to have you with us again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.